Then on Sports Central, we go over a college football game preview and prediction on the big matchup coming up here in the Pac-12 in Week 10 of this 2021 college football season. And it'll be over the Oregon Ducks and the Washington Huskies. Crucial matchup for both these teams heading into Week 10. We'll be going over a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today, starting out with your team trends. Oregon, in their last game, beat Colorado. 52-29 was the final score there. Overall, solid win for the Ducks, and this team is ranked number 4 in the first edition of college football playoff rankings, which is a bit surprising considering this team did just lose to Stanford a few weeks ago. But, I mean, there's no doubt this is a very talented Oregon team that is worthy of being in contention for the college football playoff. But you also got to consider this team did beat Ohio State earlier on in this season. So I'm sure that was part of the reason why Oregon is in the top 4 as of right now, but they got a 3-game winning streak heading into this matchup. Washington has had a really just a tough season. I mean, this is a football team that many expected to be a big contender in the Pac-12, but they've been not a big contender, that's for sure. They are 4-4 heading into this matchup. Beat Stanford in their last game 20-13, so overall that was a solid win. Stanford's a decent football team that should be going to a bowl game, so for the Huskies, overall good win there. They are back up to 500 after that win with a 2-game winning streak. So overall, both teams playing pretty well heading into this matchup. Washington is the home team as well, so the Huskies do have an advantage there. Game will be on Saturday, November 6th in Seattle, Washington. The time is going to be at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time, 7:30 Eastern for this matchup. Spread's currently going Oregon 6.5 points on there, so not too surprising seeing Oregon favored by a decent amount for this game. Over-under is 51, and the FPI is going Oregon 62.8%. Series history, Washington does lead it overall 60-47, but in recent history, Oregon has had a very more successful history here. Of course, they've won 2 straight games, and in the last 10 matchups, Oregon leads it 8-2. Here's your stat comparison for this matchup. Oregon's got 36 points per game, 23 points allowed, 238 passers a game, 204 rush yards, and then for yards allowed, 261 passing, 131 for rushing. And as for the Huskies, 22 points per game, 18 points allowed. So obviously, they've had quite a few low-scoring games this season, the Huskies have. And then 230 passers a game, 122 rush yards, and then for yards allowed, 146 passing, and then 178 rushing. So, I mean, 146 passing yards allowed per game, that is a very impressive stat, actually. Usually, if you can keep that number below 200, you're in a pretty good position, which, I mean, Washington has allowed less than 150. So, yeah, secondary looks pretty good, and the passing defense for the Huskies has been pretty good statistically so far in this college football season. Looking at some recent matchups as well, Oregon, of course, beat Colorado 52-29. Good win over UCLA on the road, 34-31. That California game was very questionable. Of course, I mean, the Golden Bears are not a very good football team this season, and Oregon, I mean, they struggled against California for a long time, but got the win 24-17 in the end. So I guess that's all that matters is they got the win, but they did lose to Stanford on the road by a touchdown, 24-31, which Stanford, I mean, they're a decent football team, but for Oregon, I mean, it's kind of surprising seeing a one-loss Pac-12 team currently in the top 4 because usually you'd see the Pac-12 teams have a tough time even getting into the top 4 with one loss. So it's interesting seeing that. But, yeah, Oregon, this is a very talented football team that I think is worthy of being a contender for the college football playoff. But obviously, I mean, this team is definitely, they've got a chance to make it into the college football playoff if they win out. But, of course, I mean, a couple things, I mean, like, they definitely need Georgia to win out so that Alabama doesn't make it. And Oregon, and even in general, like if they win out, I mean, they're already number 4. I can imagine even if they have a couple of close wins, I mean, this team should be in the college football playoff if they win out, according to the committee right now. But as for Washington, of course, they beat Stanford, beat Arizona, lost to UCLA and Oregon State, both in close games, by the way. And they beat California 31-24 in overtime. So, yeah, overall, Washington has not been terrible in their past 5 games. They've had a couple of close losses, but otherwise, Huskies, this is a football team that I'd say is better than their record shows, that's for sure. Some key points here. Oregon, of course, coming off of 3 straight wins, did lose to Stanford a few weeks back. And you got to include, too, they did have a close game against Cal. But college football playoff chances are on the line. I mean, there's no doubt if Oregon takes another loss in the regular season or even in the Pac-12 championship game, this team is without a doubt out of the college football playoff. I mean, we're not going to see a 2-loss Pac-12 team in the top 4, so that's definitely worth considering there. For Washington, though, this team has had plenty of close games. That is for sure. Several close losses for the Huskies in this 2021 season. coming off of a solid win against Stanford, that's for sure. And they also have the home field advantage too in an evening matchup. So Huskies definitely have got an advantage there. But that being said, let's get to the prediction here for Oregon and Washington, the big Pac-12 game this weekend. I'm going to go Ducks here. 27-17 is my predicted final score. And I considered making it 27-24, but I just think Oregon right now, this is too dominant of a football team. And I think Oregon is, they've already had a couple of questionable performances, and I think this team comes to play in Week 10, and they're going to get the win 27-17 being the final score. Probability 60% towards Oregon. Your over-under is 51. I'm going to take the under for this matchup right now, just barely. And Oregon's going to cover as well, I do think. But if you're betting the spread here, it's definitely not going to be not one that you need to be, or you're going to be too confident on betting on. I could easily see Washington covering. It's a 6.5 point spread. So, yeah, Oregon, I'm going to go with them, though. 27-17 made my predicted final score. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this matchup. And I appreciate you guys all watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I'll see you guys later.